let's start with why are you running?
So I originally started off where you start to see, like I think everybody at home, they start to see a lot of things happening, things we don't have control over, the government doing different things, and everybody is frustrated at home. We see the crime, we see the homelessness, and I just, it was suggested to me that I actually run for county supervisor, and I thought about it, and then actually spoke to Carl Sparks, retired Sheriff Sparks, and he really pushed me into it as well. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it.
Okay.
And so we started basically looking into it of June of last year.
Yeah, very neat. And as far as your qualifications or experience, why do you think that you're the best candidate to represent the 3rd District?
So one of the things that you hear a lot is, well, he's great as a highway patrolman, he'd be a great sheriff, and all that's true. But the thing that people don't realize is I worked at headquarters for the California Highway Patrol. I worked at our division. You're talking 17 different CHP offices, and that was besides headquarters that I was working. I wrote with another chief, I wrote the 5-year strategic plan for the Highway Patrol. I started the department's peer support program that I actually created that myself. I did environmental impact reports. In the county here, being the commander of the Highway Patrol, I've worked with all the different, well, not all, but most of the county departments. So I know how they operate. I know the people that are in these departments. And with 34 years law enforcement experience, we don't have anybody in law enforcement on the Board of Supervisors. And yet, what's our biggest issue is crime. And there's nobody on the Board of Supervisors. Also, I have the experience as a veteran. I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and we don't have any veterans on the Board of Supervisors either. But I think when people try and say, well, he doesn't have the county experience, that's true. But I have the state experience of a very successful law enforcement agency, and just in itself, a great department. And we get things done. We've always been able to work within our budgets, and when the budget is tight, hey, we tighten our belt, we made things happen. So when you say that, going into a county department, I absolutely will be very successful. They have put me into different highway patrol offices to fix morale, to fix the problems. I've been successful in every office that I went into, and I made a great difference. So for me, I'm not going in to win this election to make promises and to say, okay, now put me in office. I'm going in there to make a big difference. So for the voters, you want somebody that's actually going in there to do something, to make changes, to make things better, to listen to the voters. The voters have an actual say in what they want. Well, then you need to vote for me. Or you just sit back and let things go as the way they always have been.
Right, and you mentioned crime as a big issue in probably in overall in Kern County, but in the 3rd District. What are the major issues, in your opinion, in the district that you would represent should you be elected?
So the two big things that we have, and through the whole county, but especially in our District 3, is crime and homelessness. And I mean, obviously, the people in Oildale, they want the attention. They want somebody that's going to be out there with them, not just to say, hey, we'll do this, we'll do that. The election passes, they don't see anything. You have issues on the east side. I want to get in there and do that. I want to have actual town hall meetings where the people are telling us what the concerns are. Because I know what they are by talking to people and going out into the community, but I want that to be an ongoing thing. And people will always have a voice. The biggest things are the crime and the homelessness, and yet, what are we doing? I've said it over and over again. We just keep dumping more and more money into the homelessness, and yet we're really not doing anything about it. This is going to keep going until we get somebody in there that's willing to have a plan, and that plan is very easily that I feel for the people that are on the streets. These are people's children, but nothing is going to happen when they break the law, when they steal our property, when they break into our cars. They need to be arrested. When they're in possession of drugs, they need to be arrested because that's the only way they're going to get help. Otherwise, we're going to continue with this. So if we want to continue, then let's just keep things the way they are. If we want to fix it, then we need to get tough. We need to have a group, joint meetings with the sheriff, with probation, with the DA. Put these people in custody, let them get the rehab, get them off the streets, help the ones that are going to pay attention to the rehab, get their life back. And I've said it over and over again, the parents of these people that are on the streets, they want this help too. They want them to get what I call tough love. Get them in custody, get them to rehab, and get some of those people where they can get better and actually move on with their lives and get jobs and get treated. Otherwise, let's just sit back and keep spending. California spending $10.1 billion in 3 years. Look how much Kern County is spending. We need to do something about it. That's why I'm going in there.
Okay, and just on that note here, what is the first thing that you'd like to see change should you be elected, and how would you specifically go about changing that?
Well, one of the issues that has come up recently, and I'm the only one that supports it of the two candidates, is term limits. And look, I know we have great people that go in there with great ideas. They want to work, they want to get things done, but somehow they get in, and after a while it becomes a job, it becomes a paycheck. And I know that even, your chiefs of police, usually, they'll do 4, 5, 6 years where they're really effective. And a lot of them, they move to other departments. You get the fresh, I was a commander here in Bakersfield for 4 years. And then you get to a point where you're looking for that next step, or you look for a change to keep you inspired. That's one of the things that I look at is, let's get in, let's do the job, do a great job while you're in there, and then let's get new people with fresh ideas that are motivated to move on. I also think one of the biggest things, people want that voice. They're voting for me to do their work. So when they call, they want an answer, they want somebody to take care of their problems. And again, I'm not making these political promises. You can talk to anybody that has dealt with the Bakersfield Highway Patrol, division, headquarters, anywhere I work. Every single person that has worked with me or for me will tell you, he gets the job done, and he's seriously coming in to do that job. These aren't political promises. People will see that they're going to get the work. They're going to get somebody in there that's going to listen to them and get the job done.
Okay, great. And going back to the major issues in your district, I want to just quick touch on homelessness. You did touch on the criminal aspect of homelessness, but as far as homelessness in general, are there any programs that you see currently working, and specifically how would you address homelessness overall in the 3rd District?
Well, I think as you walk through, like we said, Oildale, the east side, even when you're talking about even Westchester and Old Stockdale, the homeless problem is getting so bad that they're everywhere. That problem is going everywhere. Mm-hmm. So it affects everybody in the 3rd District, right? And so, one, we have to clean up these areas. And then the other issue is code enforcement, right? How can you drive through some areas and it's nice and clean, and then you drive out? Why are we allowing people with all the trash in their front yards and abandoned vehicles? And I know the Highway Patrol works hard and they get in there with the vehicles. And the sheriff's obviously working real hard out there too. But when you drive through and you see trash just accumulating, that's drawing rats. And there are people that own homes in these areas that they're taking care of their house, but nobody's taking care of the neighbors, and they have to live with that. So we need to get in there with code enforcement. You need to get in there with cleanup crews. And look, I'm not saying that this is going to be cleaned up over a day, but you have to have your strategic plans. You have to make the plans. What blocks are we going to hit first? How are we going to clean these up? And then how are we going to enforce it, right? That's another thing. We really don't see a lot. Now in California, we're seeing that the criminals are getting everything, and the hardworking people, the people out there that are working every day, have to put up with this. And what happens? They pay more taxes, and they pay more taxes. And a lot of people are saying, what are we getting for this? We're working hard, and these other people get to break the law and do whatever they want. Nothing happens to them. And as I said before, you even look at the traffic lights. You stop at a red light, and it turns green for you. You better wait, because 3 more cars are going to go. We have just lost the sense of law and order. Part of that is because we're so short-staffed. It's also in the last few years that people have putting down cops and running law enforcement down, and TV shows that the cop is always a bad guy. We just need to change the whole thing. And we can say, well, that's federal, that's state. No, it needs to start right here in Kern County. And people that are going to say, hey, when the state tells us it has to be this way, no, we need to buck back. And that's why I'm doing all this. So I'm just telling people, you get the ballot at home. You either just leave it on your counter or you vote for somebody else. But if you're tired of it and you're fed up and you want things done, then put somebody in there that's going to do something about all this. And I'm the person that's going to do that.
Okay, and going back, you mentioned code enforcement, cleaning these areas up. For those that are on the streets, what do you suggest is the next step for them? Say that they are in violation of a code and they have to, vacate that area. What specifically is next for that group of homeless people? Do you suggest they?
Okay, so here's the problem. we should be spending the money, when we talk about homeless, we should be focusing on the homeless mothers, the veterans, the people that are truly need the help. The problem is a lot of the money are going to people that are on drugs. It should also go to people that with the mental illness, right? And we do have some good programs in this county. I also think the people, the Jim Wheelers, the other people they're doing great work. I mean, and they are helping people, that's great. But we just keep giving more and more services. And I hate to say this, that word gets out, people come from other counties into our area. So I am sympathetic towards and empathetic to the people that really need the help. I'm all about that, like I said, the single mothers and the veteran, all that. But people that are on drugs, people that continue with drugs, they have to keep feeding their habit. They're going to keep breaking into our cars. People are fed up. People don't want this. So that's how you're going to have to take care of them.
Okay, and talking a little bit about your district, specifically the 3rd District, what makes that district unique from others here in Bakersfield? I know that a lot of the districts share the same problems, but is there anything, a few specific things that make the 3rd District unique?
I think one of the problems is you see the crime and the homelessness throughout the county. Unfortunately, I think it's more focused in your areas of Oildale, the east side, now the business districts right downtown, those areas of 3rd District. We can talk about the homelessness is starting to stretch out, but the 3rd District has a lot of these city areas, right? They have a lot, and when I say city, I mean more of urban areas, even though it may not be in the city itself. But when you talk about Oildale, like I talked about earlier, the residents and hardworking people that live in Oildale, they really need our help. They don't want somebody that's going to make promises and then the election comes and they don't do anything about it and they move on, right? They want somebody that's going to be interested in Oildale and the east side. And then also, as we do that, we keep the homeless problem from spreading into other areas. But we really have to hit those areas hard in the 3rd District.
Okay, and talking about demographics in the 3rd District, I know that it stretches, it's a pretty big district. Why are you best to represent the constituents of the 3rd District when you're looking at them demographic-wise?
Well, one of the things that I think anybody will tell you that I started as I was an officer here in Bakersfield. I was the commander of the entire highway patrol here. So I was actually in all communities. And I think the greatest thing is I went into each community and I actually did town hall meetings in every community. But more than that, I actually drove around in those areas and I got to know the people. And even, not just as an officer, but I would go into those neighborhoods and I would give out toys and I would buy things for people. And then as a commander, I would go in and I even, just one case that I can tell you about as an example, seeing, a poor family having a barbecue just on one of the old grills. And I remember as a child, we used to roast marshmallows after our barbecue. And I was working, I was in uniform, but I drove down to the store and I got marshmallows. I came back and I showed them on a stick and they let me in, of course. But I think the idea is that I get along with all groups of people. I want to help all groups of people. And now people are saying, well, what are you going to do now? You're a Republican. Well, I've always gotten along with Democrats as well, because I think everybody has the same vision right now. I think everybody is tired of what's going on now. And people want somebody that is willing to work with everybody to actually reach the goals, to make it better. But when you talk about the demographics and stuff, I've always done that. This isn't, okay, now he's running for supervisor, so he's going to say that he's going to do these things. I've always done it. And that's probably one of the best things of my 34 years of law enforcement. I'm proven. I've done these things that I'm making promises of. It isn't just, empty promises.
Right, and then as far as your district, we talked a lot about the negative things of the district, the significant homelessness problem, the criminal aspect of it. When it comes to the 3rd District, what are the best qualities of that district?
Well, my wife and I have walked a lot of the district, and I will tell you, probably people ask me about running for office, and I'll tell you, it's hard, right? It's a lot of work. You put a lot of hours every day. One of the things that I've said, and it's the best thing about running that I've seen, are all the people that I'm meeting. We have some great people in the 3rd District. We have people that are hard workers that really care. They have pride in Kern County. They want to get that. They want to get that back. We have people that have. I was just at an event the other day where the woman stood up and she was on drugs and she went and was arrested several times, and she told the story about now she's a business owner here in Bakersfield. And there are people that continue to work hard. They get knocked down. Not to bring up something negative, but the COVID that put a lot of people out of businesses. They shut down people's businesses, and yet there are now people that are bouncing back. I just got done playing hockey with a friend of mine who owns a business. He says his hardest problem is getting people back to work, right? And so that took a lot of people down. But when I see the people that are just relentless, and they're going out there and they're bouncing back and they're working hard and they've been at great odds, but they still come back and are successful, that's one of the greatest things that I've seen.
Okay, and on that note, talking a little bit about the resilience, it seems like, of the business owners in your district and just the voters that have endured so much, including the pandemic. Is there anything as a supervisor that you could see to continue their success? Is there anything that would make them or the 3rd District even greater in that respect?
Well, I think one of the things is for your business owners, especially people starting, I think you have to really look at all the requirements and all the payments and all the red tape and all the bureaucracy. I've always tried to, even on the highway patrol with our forms and different stuff, I've made suggestions in the past to reduce some of that. And I would be looking to make it easier for people that want to be successful in the business world. The other part is we have a lot of people that work for the county, and they haven't gotten pay raises for a long time. I understand that it's tough, with the finances, but I also think that one of the things that I'm well known for is identifying people and appreciating people and the work that they do. And one of the things that I would look forward to being in office is actually going to each of the departments, and not just the department heads, but recognizing the successes of the department heads, but also every single worker, including the people working graveyards. You have your dispatchers for county, and all these county workers that go to work every day, to just let them know how much we appreciate the work that they're doing. Because there are people that go in every day, they may get frustrated, but just to know that they're appreciated, I think is a huge deal. Okay,
and on that note, as far as the state budget goes, we have a very large surplus right now, it seems, and there's many opinions on how that should be spent. Your opponent believes that some money from that surplus should go towards, again, addressing homelessness, things like that. Would you, first of all, either agree or disagree, and then second of all, do you think any of that money should be used to, like you said, help some of these business owners, either through grants or through, I know that you said, making it easier for them to succeed. Would that be one of the ways that you can see that?
I'll tell you right now, and I understand that the first answer is let's put more money towards homelessness, but as you've heard me say all here, that's not the answer. We just keep putting more money into homelessness. My answer is let's start putting it into law enforcement again. So now, right, we have the Prop 57, we're releasing criminals earlier, and we're finding out we're short on officers. So how does this make sense that we're short on officers and deputies, and yet let's release these criminals early? It's a revolving door. So now you need help, you need a deputy. You know what the deputy's doing? He or she is over there responding, arresting a criminal that was left out early. How about putting more money into your local law enforcement and your DAs and your probation departments, and let's get serious about this crime and stop giving everything to the people that are on drugs, stop giving it to the criminals. Let's turn this around. Let's get our county back. Now, the other thing is you talk about Sacramento says we have a surplus. So what do? We feel sorry for you because the gas prices are so high. But yet they still raised the tax is on gasoline on July 1st when we're hurting. So how do they care when they still put the prices up? And then when they say, well, we're going to give you a stimulus check, how about just putting that money that you need from the gas taxes, put that money there and lower the gas taxes on us and not keep raising it, right? Instead, the answer is let's just keep dumping more into homelessness. How long do you think this is going to keep going? And if I don't win this election, even longer, right?
Right, and then as far as just businesses helping them to succeed, would you want to propose, or would you want to see?
No, absolutely. Any way to help the business owners, because not only is it helping the business owner, but when you help the business owner, you're helping all of us, because that helps with the taxes, that helps with all our bills, that helps with the county employees. So if we can help the business owners, absolutely.
Okay, and what is your opinion, just talking about businesses now, as far as the pot shops in the 3rd District? I know there are a number of them. In your opinion, do you agree with their presence being there, or is there anything that you would like to address in that aspect?
Actually, this is one thing that's easy for a debate. I am not in favor of pot shops, and there's really no discussion for me. I am not in favor of pot shops.
Okay.
So.
Would you do anything to address those pot shops? I don't know if
yeah,
some of them
I would not be supportive of them. So anything that came up for a vote, I'm sure my campaign manager may not be happy about making a firm decision. But look, this I feel it goes right back into the elements of crime. Now, when and with these pot shops too, the problem is that I'm sure that because it's not federal, so it has to be I mean, look where a lot of the crimes are happening are at these pot shops, and so I think it's a detriment to the county. I think it causes more safety issues. And then when you're talking about how low we are on law enforcement and the deputies and stuff, it's just another issue that we have to deal with.
Okay, and moving on now to another issue that's going to be on the ballot. Is the unincorporated sales tax, or the sales tax on some residents and not others. I understand that District 3 has a lot of rural areas, and so that would apply to those constituents. Do you agree with this 1 cent sales tax? I think it's a 13% sales tax on these residents, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I don't even want to say right now, because I am just, and let me just be clear to everybody, because it got turned around on primary. How, I have no idea, but I just want to be clear. It's the same thing that I said with that gas tax. The people are taxed to death right now. Every time we turn around, we're getting hit with more money. People don't need another tax. Now, does that mean everybody should know by now, I am the biggest proponent for our first responders. I am our largest proponent, and I will fight for the deputies and the detention deputies, first responders, and law enforcement. And I'm not convinced that the money isn't there, but let me tell you something else. When I was a commander and an assistant chief with the Highway Patrol, during times of horrible budget times, we weren't able to just go out and say, look, let's get more money from the people, right? We had to deal with what our budget restraints were. And I looked at everything. And when I run my offices, I run it the same way I run my house. How many people out there in Kern County have not had a raise, are not getting a raise, are on Social Security? And the poorest of the poorest are going to be affected by the sales tax, because everybody gets affected by a sales tax, right? So we're hitting these people. They don't see a raise coming. They don't see Social Security being raised. But now we're going to take more money from them to take this. How about we tighten our belts up for a while? How about we make sure that we prioritize better? We may have to make some cuts on certain things. I want to get in there and actually look at each department to see where we can save this money and not just keep taxing the people. So your answer, no, I do not support it.
Okay, and the second big issue on the ballot, which you addressed earlier, but the term limits for the Board of Supervisors. Can you just reiterate again your thoughts on that and your stance?
Yes, I think, and you may have heard me say this before, but my mother always used to say that a new broom sweeps the cleanest. And I just think that there are great people that are running for office all the time. They have great ideas, what they want to do, they get in there. And then after they're in there for a while, it becomes a job, kind of get bored with it, they get their paycheck, and they're not really motivated to do the great works. And people say, well, but then you lose the experience. Well, I've gone into different offices. I've gone into different jobs. I had a job down at Santa Barbara Probation as the manager. I knew nothing about it. I learned, and I was very successful down there. I went in went into the oil field. I was the senior security advisor. Didn't really know a lot about the oil field. I learned. I was very successful at it. So the answer of, well, we lose that experience. Sure, you may lose that experience, but I think what you gain in the long run is better. And I really think that the residents of Kern County, they want fresh ideas. They want somebody that's motivated more. And so I think, look, you get in there, you make your plan, you have your strategic plan, you do your time, and then you move on. So that's why I support the term limits.
Okay, and speaking, you said you did have some experience in oil, which is, you know, an issue as well. Do you feel that there's overreach from Sacramento, specifically in oil and ag, and in how it's affecting Kern County's commerce?
You know what? It's people can say what they want about oil, and well, we have to get away from oil. You can't live without oil. And it amazes me that the biggest people that are against oil are driving the big limousines. They're taking their airplanes. I think the people that keep crashing and being against oil really need to take a look at themselves. Are you still driving around every day and everything that you have that comes from oil? And then look at the people that you're voting for. The ones that are making the biggest noise about shutting down oil, they're not reducing how much they're driving. They're not reducing the flying. So let's get real. Oil affects us all. We all need oil. Across the world, we need oil. Look what's going on with the wars and the arguments and who we're getting oil from, right? And yet, look how important that is. We need to start giving the permits back to Kern County. Let's start getting oil independent in this country again, and it starts right here in Kern County.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. And then as far as anything that you would like to say to voters directly about your campaign, about yourself, anything that I'm missing?
So I think every election day we hear the promises, we hear everybody say I'm going to do this or this. The election's over and nothing happens. The good thing about me is that I'm proven. Like I said, when I have people in Oildale say, well, what are you going to do for us? Are you going to make a promise and not? No, when I was a commander here and an officer, I was in Oildale. I did a lot with Oildale. I sent different officers. I went to their meetings. I went to town halls. On the east side, I worked the east side all the time. I was in with the public. So I've gone into offices, I've done the work, and I've improved every office that I ever worked. Any place I ever went, I always left it better than when I went in. And so I'm just telling the voters now, you can have the same thing, then don't complain. Or you can vote for me, put the pressure on me, you call our office, we will respond to you, and we're going to get you answers. And we're not going to give up until we give you an answer, right? So it's up to you. You just listen to the slates of people telling you who to vote for, or you do your research and find out my successes, and if you want differences, then you go ahead and you vote for me. But the thing is people can't leave those ballots on the counter. They're being mailed. It can't get any easier than that. Just fill out Brian Smith for supervisor, mail it in, don't leave it on the counter and waste your vote.
Okay, wonderful, Brian. Thank you so much for your time. Is there anything that I'm forgetting to address that you'd like to talk about?
I think you did a great job.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful.